Are we ready? Okay. Hey, good evening. I'm Betsy Hagee. I'm the chair of the North Wasco County School District 21, and we are going to call our January 22nd regular monthly meeting to order. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. I know many of you presenting, so we're going to look forward to that. It is also School Board Recognition Month, so we've already gotten many gifts from you. Thank you. It's a lot of fun, and we appreciate your recognition. So, let us do the Pledge of Allegiance. I Thank you. For a change up, Mr. Corey, you have our agenda, don't you? Do you? Would you please read our mission statement and vision statement and our values, sir?
Educating each student to the highest standards while motivating them to reach their fullest potential and graduating them to be college, career, and life ready. The vision statement is our schools are a place where children belong. Each student is known by name, strength, and need, and provided the education and opportunities to achieve success. Our values: striving for equity, inclusion and belonging, celebrating diversity, engaging the community, supporting the whole child, promoting and achieving academic excellence.
Thank you very much. Item number 3 is to review and revise the agenda. Do I have any suggestions for revisions to the agenda as presented? Seeing none, we'll move on to number 4, which is public comment on the agenda items, and there were no sign-ups this evening. So we will move to item number 5, which is building student representative reports. And this evening, we will start with Colonel Wright Elementary, Saoirse Posey, and Christopher Castro.
En noviembre teníamos un club de drama. También había club el año pasado sobre el servicio comunitario. En noviembre el kinder a tercer grado tuvo un concierto.
In November, we had an after-school drama club. It was ran by Miss Vieira and Mrs. Jordan. In music, we had our troubadours group, and they went to Spring Hall in Columbia and the Veterans Home. We had the winter performance with students K through 3rd. It was a success.
Los troubadours fueron a cantar en muchos lugares. La noche de ELD pasó en diciembre y habían conferencias de padres en diciembre.
We had our ELD night. There was food and we danced. There were some performances. It was a big hit and everybody had fun. We also had our parent conferences. We had OBOB. It was ran by Mrs. Bustos and Mrs. Brown.
También había OBOB en diciembre. Había un evento en el Teatro de Granada sobre la película Grinch. Personas fueron a juzgar diseños de puertas.
We had people come and judge our doors. We had 2 winners, Mr. Chance and the library. Our 5th grade class went snowshoeing to Mount Hood.
La mitad del quinto grado fueron a Mount Hood.
All the students and staff at Colonel Wright would like to thank Mr. Pullian for all his work on the school board and for schools. We appreciate your dedication and invite you to visit to see all the good work we are doing to Colonel Wright Elementary School.
Todos los estudiantes y maestros de Colonel Wright quieren darle a el señor Pullen un gracias especial por lo que hace y lo invitamos a venir a la escuela.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Hey, appreciate the invite to Colonel Wright, and looking forward to going and visiting.
Okay, thank you. We would love to hear from Eric Aparicio and Talon Richmond from Chenoweth Elementary School.
Hi, my name is Eric Aparicio. Soy Eric y estoy en la clase de la maestra Augusto.
Hi, my name is Tyler Richmond and I am in 5th grade in Mr. Ray's class. Students at Chenoweth made some artwork for you, Director Hedges, to say thank you for helping our schools.
Los alumnos de Chenoweth han creado algunas obras de arte para usted, Directora Hegg.
Roll it out. It looks galactic. It's a big thank you. All right. Thank you.
We have a staff versus 5th grade ASB dodgeball game next week at our Wednesday morning assembly. We hope the 5th graders win.
La semana que viene, durante la asamblea del miércoles por la mañana, tendremos un partido de dodgeball entre los maestros y los alumnos de quinto grado del consejo estudiantil. Esperemos que ganen los de quinto grado.
The 4th graders are going snowshoeing on Mount Hood this week. We are jealous that they get to do all the fun stuff.
Los alumnos de cuarto grado van a hacer senderismo en el Monte Hood esta semana. Estamos celosos porque ellos siempre hacen las actividades más divertidas que nosotros.
Eric's class is going to CGCC tomorrow to 3 different architecture stuff that they've been learning about in class. Things like pyramids, chimpas, and the building from Machu Picchu.
Mi clase irá mañana a CGCC para imprimir en 3D elementos arquitectónicos sobre los que han estado aprendiendo en clase, cosas como pirámides, chinampas y los edificios de Machu Picchu. We want to thank you for donating to our 5th grade coin challenge bin 2 months ago because we won and got to buy ASB members in front of the whole school. ASB is going to use the money to paint a mural outside. Queremos darles las gracias por donar a nuestra colecta de monedas por 5º grado hace 2 meses, ya que ganamos y pudimos lanzarles pasteles a los miembros del consejo estudiantil delante de toda la escuela. ASB va a utilizar el dinero para pintar un mural en el exterior. 5th graders are a bit discontent with all the unexpected fire drills because they keep happening during times we don't want them to, like clubs, specials, and class.
That's intentional.
How dare them! Los alumnos de 5º grado están un poco descontentos con todos los simulacros de incendio inesperados porque siguen ocurriendo en momentos inoportunos, como durante las actividades extraescolares, las clases especiales y las clases normales.
Do you know what a tech deck is? It's a small toy skateboard that you can flip with your fingers that we can use them at recess or during free time.
¿Sabes lo que es un tech deck? Es un pequeño patineta de juguete que puedes hacer girar con los dedos. Nos encantaría poder usarlas durante el recreo o en nuestro tiempo libre.
We sacrificed our valuable recess time yesterday to write this report for you. We hope you enjoy it.
Yes.
Ayer sacrificamos nuestro valioso tiempo de recreo para escribir este informe para ustedes. Esperamos que les guste.
You bet. Your suffering is a...
At Timmons, we always say, together we're better.
Yo les decimos juntos somos mejores.
Your suffering is appreciated, gentlemen. And it was a cold day. You didn't miss anything. Hey, I heard you're planning a snowshoeing trip, right?
4th grade gets to.
Oh, 4th grade. And that Colonel Wright also took a trip of snowshoeing. So that must be kind of a regular thing, a hookup for the elementary schools that they're doing. Is that right? No? Anyone can tell me? But that's a good adventure. Have fun in the snow. Well, if you were in 4th grade. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, thank you. Next we'll hear from Irie Lucy and Gabrielle Lee Tapia from Dry Hollow.
Good evening, board members, and thank you for giving us some time to tell you about what's happening at Dry Hollow this month. The word of the month for January at Dry Hollow is perseverance. It means sticking with something and not giving up. We've heard many stories from students at Dry Hollow that have persevered and learned new things. One of our teachers told us this story. As a young man just starting out, I was very poor, but I never gave up. And today, after many years of hard work and perseverance, I am old.
You got to persevere at the right thing.
The Student Council has started a pet photo contest at Dry Hollow. We have received a considerable number of photos. Mrs. Corey allowed us to hang the photos up in one of her library display cases. We will have 3 winners in the 3 categories that we'll vote for next week. The categories are Best Cat Photos, Best Dog Photos, and Best Other Pet Photos.
Our student council will be selling different sized paper hearts that our students can purchase and put the name of somebody they love on it. The hearts will be displayed in the front school window for everyone to see. The money they raise will go to the American Heart Association. Last time they did this, they raised over $300.
The Student Council has put together yet another sock hop for February 6th for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. Cost of admission will be a snack item to share with those in attendance.
The kindergartners and 1st graders took a field trip to the Discovery Center as part of their Curiosity Quest projects. For many students, it is their first opportunity to ride a school bus. They were very excited about that.
We always have lots of drama at Dry Hollow, but probably the most fun drama we have is taking part in our drama club each week on Monday. The students are working on a play written by Mr. J.D. Fierce. Have you ever heard of him? He's our drama club supervisor and a SELA at Dry Hollow. We can hardly wait for everyone to perform the play.
On behalf of all the students at Dry Hollow Elementary, we want to take a moment to thank you. Your dedication, hard work, and thoughtful decisions make our school a better place every day. Because of your support, we have wonderful teachers, safe classrooms, and opportunities to learn, grow, and explore our interests. We appreciate the time you and care you put into making sure our voices are heard and our school community thrives. Thank you for helping make Dry Hollow a place where students can shine. We salute you. Now before we go, here are a couple of jokes for you. What do you call a teacher who forgot to take attendance?
The answer is absent-minded.
Finally, why was the kid late for school?
The answer is because he saw a sign that said, "School ahead, go slow."
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your perspective of school, and keep up the drama at Dry Hollow. Okay, thank you very much. Kit, or no, the Dallas Middle School, is Aubrey White here? We have a stand-in.
One moment. We actually have a video from Dry Hollow, real quick. Sorry. We'll be right with you.
We, the Dry Hollow Viking Student Council, want to celebrate the hard work of Director Aparicio and we, the Dry Hollow Viking Student Council, want to celebrate the hard work of Director Aparicio and our school board. During School Board Appreciation Month, there are over 95,000 school board members across the United States. You, Director Aparicio, and the rest of the North Wasco County School District are the very best. As someone wrote, education is the cornerstone of our community. And Director Aparicio, along with our other students, school board members, are the Mordor. Thank you, Director Aparicio, for being a guardian of our education system. We appreciate your dedication of time and energy to ensure that every student in our district has a chance to succeed. We, the Student Council, and the students and staff of Dry Hollow Elementary School, salute you, Director Aparicio, the best of the best, as well as the rest of the school board. During School Board Appreciation Month, thank you, School Board!
That was really cool, so thank you so much for the time and effort and the kind words.
Awesome. Okay, sir, introduce yourself.
I'm Rolando Dominguez and I'm the ASB president. On behalf of TDMS, we would like to start our presentation by saying thank you to our 7 board members. January is School Board Appreciation Month and each school is recognizing one important board member. The Wildcats would like to give a special thank you to Dave Jones. We would like to express our gratitude for the time and energy that you give to make our school successful. Next week is our second round of parent-teacher conferences. Conferences are held on Tuesday and Thursday night from 5 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Parents and students are encouraged to attend and meet with teachers. Students are currently completing the second round of iReady diagnostic testing. Primarily, reports are showing of growth that the teachers are really excited about. Once the data is complied, the growth and progress will be shared with staff and next steps will be planned in improving our overall reading and math skills. Students have the opportunity to earn Wildcat coins for meeting or exceeding their growth goals. We are looking forward to some upcoming February events. We will be selling balograms to students during lunch and will have another spirit assembly and winter dance. We currently have 2 girls basketball teams, one 7th grade and one 8th grade team. Our 8th grade team have won their first 2 games against Hood River and Pendleton. So far this season, and our 7th graders are 1-1. Over 30 boys and girls make up our current wrestling team. Last night they traveled for the first match of the year to Riverside. Our robotics team hosted a tournament a few weeks ago. We had 2 teams make it to finals. Team All-Stars and Team the Raptors. The Raptors tied for 3rd place, and All-Stars placed in 5th. The All-Stars team brought home the first trophy for the season with the Innovation Award, which means they have qualified for state in February. Chess Club has started again for the year. All students are encouraged to join Mr. Hewitt's club after school on Thursdays to learn the game of chess. We are also continuing the Hold Homework Club every Tuesday and Thursday after school. It is a chance for TDMS students to get extra help on assignments. Again, happy School Board Appreciation Month. You are an important piece of the district's continuous improvement plan.
Thank you so much for bringing your report. We totally appreciate it. I understand you're quite the wrestler. Is that true? Or do you aspire to be? I wrestle. Yes. Keep it up. Okay. Is Kit here? There she is. Oh, yeah. It's true. I can't believe. Kit, hi. Kit from Innovations. Coming with. Oh, other goodies. Oh, we got Kevin.
Good evening, members of the board and community. My name is Kit Dunbar. I would like to kick off immediately to my thanks and appreciation to a wonderful advocate and best wrestling coach, Mr. Kramer. Thank you so much for everything you've done for this community and district, from volunteering to teaching. You've done our community good and still are. I'd like to dedicate this speech to you and how grateful Innovation Academy is for everything you've done. Yet again, thank you so truly much. But with that said, to start off this new year, we did an ice cream social. It was a great way to engage students to participate, and it really set the tone for 2026 along with the rest of the trimester too. It was a good bonding moment between staff and students. I mean, who wouldn't want to bond over ice cream? And on the topic of fun activities, my community and fellow ASB members came up with a door decorating competition. It will be hosted among the school between each advisory class on the 27th of next week. The rules are simple. No glitter or anything that's going to make a mess for the sake of our janitors. 2, winter themed only, nothing tied to religious such as Christmas for students and peers who don't celebrate. Be a good sport. After all, this is a fun activity we're supposed to bond over. At the end, there will be a vote among the staff and students. The prize for the winning grade will be spirit points. At the end of the year, the grade with the most spirit points will win a celebration among their advisory. During break on December 30th, Miss Jessica, with the help of the next door, hosted a resilience drop-in at the high school. They had games, crafts, and altogether a safe space for teens to interact. The main resilience rally will be hosted sometime in spring, possibly May, but the date will be out soon. During the event, there will be games, music, art, and food. As long as you move around the stations, you can get tickets. At the end, those tickets with your names on them will be raffled off, giving you the chance to win something. Innovation's Virtual Academy K-8 teacher, Paige Walker, is celebrating that all students showed growth on their mid-year assessments. Way to go, virtual students. The virtual high school is preparing students for on-time graduation, engaging students in their new work in their new coursework, internships, and employment-related experience, thus awarding credits at rapid rates. Now, for a fun fact. Did you know rabbits don't have paw pads? It's completely smooth and covered in fur. Thank you for your time and your ongoing support of our students in school. Have a good night.
Thank you, Kip. Thank you for your cadence and efficiency. That rocked. Thank you very much. Is Amber here from the Dallas High School? Amber.
Good evening, everyone. Before I start, I would like to say thank you to the school board for the support and hard work they put in every day for our students. January has been an amazing month for TDHS, especially our winter sport athletics. Starting with basketball, our girls basketball team traveled to Bend on Monday to face the 5A Mountain View Cougars. The Hawks are fighting illness and recovering from some injuries and lost to the Cougars 60-42. The Hawks don't play again until tomorrow when they travel to Madras to face the always tough Madras White Buffaloes. The boys also played this Friday at home, and both games are honoring Native American heritage. The boys have had a busy month and are now 8-8 to start league on Friday. Our wrestling team celebrated their senior night this last Monday and have had an exceptional season. Our boys placed 4th out of 10 teams during their last invitational. Both teams travel to Tualatin this Saturday, and we are looking forward to seeing them progress. Our swimmers are also doing amazing as they placed 1st during the Madras tournament on Tuesday. Our leadership class continues to celebrate our athletes by awarding student athletes with Athlete of the Month and Athlete of the Week. This week, we honored Anahea Peters, Sawyer Case, Rhett Lockmiller, and Evelyn Hugg. On the other hand, seniors are preparing for local scholarships and selling cherries to fundraise money for our class. Students are keeping up with their grades and looking forward to the events prepared for next month. ASB is also planning a fun fundraiser in the next week's Neon Soccer Night, where high schoolers can come and pay to play soccer in the blacked out gym with neon equipment. As January ends, we are looking forward to Winter Formal, which is a Sadie Hawkins dance at the Civic, meaning the girls ask the guys. We look forward to Human Kindness Week and Anti-Bullying Week, where we will be having a guest speaker come in and talk to the student body. Once again, thank you for all your support.
Thank you, Amber. Thanks for being here. Okay, item number 6 is student staff recognition. Dr. Carolyn Bernal.
Thank you. So, if you weren't aware, it's School Board Appreciation Month. So I have just a statement I'd like to read. On behalf of the students, staff, and families of the North Wasco School District, I want to formally thank each of you for your service. In our leadership work this year, we have been studying the idea of grounded confidence. It's the ability to stay curious, to lean into hard conversations, and to prioritize the long-term health of our community over short-term comfort. Each of you embodies that. Whether we are rumbling over complex budget decisions, looking at literacy data, or navigating the challenges of staffing, you stay in the arena with us. You don't just hold the title of board member, you hold the vision of our beloved community. You represent the boots on the ground for our citizens and the voice of the future for our children. We asked our students what brave leadership looks like, and their work is included in the tokens of appreciation you're receiving tonight. It's a reminder of exactly who we are serving when we sit in these meetings. Thank you for being brave, for being curious, and for your unwavering dedication to the success of every student in our district.
On the behalf of the board, thank you. Okay, everybody good? Let's move on then to item number 7, which is the consent agenda. These are items that are routine. The minutes were in your packet from the work session in December and the regular board meeting. We received a personnel report, and then there's also the second reading and adoption of policy changes to the graduation requirements. Does anybody have any comments about any of those items or motions to approve? I did have a question about the personnel report, or at least an observation that we have very little movement in hires and people who are leaving, so I thought that was good. So some stability there, and the number of folks that we need to fill positions is reasonable. I noted that school psychologists, do we just have one?
Yes, we currently have one school psychologist to serve our entire district, and then we, through our local service plan with the Columbia Gorge ESD, we receive about a half-time equivalent of virtual services.
Okay.
So we've decided next year we are taking back that money from the local service plan because the amount of money we're paying for the half-time equivalent, we can actually hire a full-time equivalent in-house in person.
Is that what that is?
Yes.
So then we'd have 2.
Next year we The plan
Okay.
is to have 2 full-time school
Two.
psychologists.
And do they serve student and staff or just students? Or both?
Students.
Students, that's
Yes.
great. Okay.
Special education, they do all the evaluations.
Okay. And then any other student has a, I mean, okay,
Not
I have
that.
too many questions.
No.
I'm sorry. You said to be curious, so I'll rein it back. We'll talk about it because that's very interesting and it seems like a good thing. Yeah. Okay. So personnel report, adoption of policies, the graduation requirements changed. The state of Oregon boosted those to include financial and career credits.
Chair, I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
David
A second.
seconds that. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Approved. Okay, thank you. The Board of Directors, we have a few things on our January and February calendars. And then member reports. Myself, I don't really have anything to report. Director Wynn Elledge, do you have things to report?
Yes, I do. This week I met with the scholarship committee, and end of this month the portal will be open for the seniors to start their application process, and that'll stay open through the month of February into the first week of March. As far as the stewarding body, we all met virtually, and since we hadn't met since last year, it was kind of a catch-up, see how things are doing, and yeah, a lot of stuff is moving and grooving, and we're looking at the outcomes, and things are looking nice.
Great, thank you. Director Pauline?
Good evening. Yeah, so first off, for committee, we've got the community outreach team. That meeting is happening next Thursday. Tonight, in parallel with this meeting, I wish I could be at both places at once because there's a meeting down at the, I don't know the name of the hotel, but it's where the Shiloh is or was. There at the bridge. Anyway, it's the meeting regarding the use of our landfill for a hazardous waste disposal project of barging in dirt from the Portland area. And so that is going to have a drastic impact on specifically on my personal assessment on 4 intersections. One is Fremont and Columbia View Drive and Highway 197. And then there, the freeway exit going up 197. I see that as affecting our bus routes, bus safety, and also if we can advocate for dollars to improve the intersection. It's my understanding that the intersection of Columbia View Heights and Fremont and 197 needs improved so that we can use the property that is on the east side of town near the auction yard for building on. And then that meeting, the meeting that's next Thursday, get the opportunity to meet with Senator Christine Drazen, who's running for governor. So if there's any input from the board, get with me offline and I can bring that up. Yesterday, visited Boardman High School for a middle school wrestling meet. And one of the things that I observed there was that they have a building similar to our local gymnastics building that is a good solution for a multi-sport indoor practice area, and they were able to hold a wrestling meet in there. I thought that was a good use or an efficient use of money for a solution. I've been after the last meeting, school board meeting, I was really reflecting on attendance. So with the attendance, I looked at our current attendance policies and I felt like they could be stronger. And so I looked at them in a way to support Dr. Bernal's goals and take a stab at what it what right should look like in my mind. I've got copies of this here that I can pass out. And with that, I also, in anticipation of tonight and some of the work I've been doing on researching education, I looked at the retention policy. And so I have a modified retention policy. Okay, and another concern that was brought to me last week was the use of district facilities when there's by our community partners, and especially if there's going to be like the potential for things that go against our school board policies. So it was a good opportunity for me to review our district policies, and one of the things that really stood out to me is that, you know, through the agreement of being able to use the district facilities, and I'm referring to the city hall meeting where they moved it here. And I as somebody that works in the defense and support of civil authorities, I can, I don't know, when I start to see online rhetoric that doesn't look safe or inclusive, or that it's going to be potentially violent, I tend to, it raises my awareness, right? And so, reviewing our policy, everybody that uses our facilities is subject to our district policies, and so if the city comes and uses this very room for a city hall meeting, our district policies apply. So I was glad to see that we have had that built in to the agreements. Okay, I think that is all, and I will pass out the
Sure.
the policies that
Thank
address.
you, Director Pauline. Thank you for your service as a guardsman and wanting to make sure that we are safe also. Great. Director Aparicio?
On Saturday, I will be headed to Salem. It's the first kind of LPC meeting. So I'll have more to report at our next meeting, but it's kind of the kickoff and preparation for this short session that's about to happen.
Thank you, Director Aparicio. Director Jones, do you have any reports? Director Kelly?
I have a statement and some things. Okay. I had to write it out. Okay. I'm not an off-the-cuff person. So I don't think we have many community members that aren't staff in attendance tonight, so I guess I'm speaking to everyone virtually, but also to the staff. And I want to start by reminding the community what the responsibilities of the school board are. What we can do is hire or fire a superintendent, and we can adopt or amend policy. And I was elected to this role, meaning I was hired by my community to be a leader in these two areas. I have been reviewing various district policies, and I have a few ready to pass out tonight. And I hope to have more in the coming months. It is true that I do not have a PhD in education, but I do have a college degree, and I'm also a mom with school-aged kids, and I think that gives me a good foundation for this work. I firmly believe that one of the reasons I was hired by my community is because the community wanted a school board leader who will influence our district's policy the same way that my husband and I run our household, and that's with love and logic. As I have been reviewing our policies, I have noticed that most of our policies do not have specific parameters, and a lot of our policies are just feel-good declarations. Our policies leave too much to interpretation, in my opinion. I firmly believe our community desires school board directors who are ready to set precedent. In full disclosure, I'm humbly aware that I might not get these policies right. However, most appear to be untouched since 2017. So I think with that in mind, I'm comfortable sharing my drafts. My recommendations come from research and reflection with the district's goals in mind. And the first one I have is for student dress and grooming. Do you want to take that? Student dress and grooming. It's like dress code. My printer was not easily printing color, so anything that's gray is a recommended strike, and anything blue is a recommended addition to our current policy. Another policy that I wanted to share tonight is a brand new policy that I drafted around remote workers. One thing that I heard a lot during my time campaigning was our community's dislike of having a remote worker where budget funds were used for their transportation. And I don't believe we have any remote workers anymore, but I want to ensure that we don't in the future, because I firmly believe there is so much benefit to working elbow to elbow with your colleagues and with students where they're at, which is in the classroom. I also think not having remote workers supports the integrity of our budget. And similar to David, and I haven't read his policy obviously, but the last policy that I wanted to share deals with the promotion and retention of students. And I understand this one might be controversial, but honestly we have to try something different when we have schools with cohorts of students significantly below proficiency. And I'm going to share also the AR that we have currently in place. The draft that I'm going to hand out has blue highlighted language that I think we should add as a language to our current policy. And some of it is actually taken from the AR, but it's worded in a way that, like I said, sets more parameter as far as what the district and the school board specifically thinks we should have in policy. It sets that parameter. One of the things specifically to bring to people's attention is kind of the guideline that we have currently. And right now it reads in our AR, retention or double promotion may be considered when all of the following apply. And there are 5 guidelines. The first one is a student is achieving significantly below or above his or her level of placement. For example, if the student in primary grades is found to be 6 or more months below his or her expected achievement level in reading, writing, or computing. And it goes on with 4 other parameters. And I think we'll discuss later what we'll see is some of the data that's presented and monitored within the district shows a large amount of children significantly more than 6 months below proficiency, up to 36 months below proficiency. And when we have a guideline that is somewhat loosely interpreted and therefore may not be applied consistently, and we're seeing the levels of lack of proficiency like we are, something has to change. I understand this is controversial, and I want to be very clear. Retention is never the goal, but we have to have some parameters. We have to try something different, and I might not get this right. I think there's conversation to be had, but I think it must be had. I'm done, thank you.
We'll speak to that in a second. Director Kramer, do you have any thoughts?
Well, there's always a question there about my thoughts, but I think we've got a very complex problem. And
Hold on, Director Kramer, this is just a report on your board activity. I'm sorry. Do you have any reports? I misled you by asking your thoughts. We're on the board,
I'd like to comment.
Okay, go ahead.
On the student performance. I think back in the 80s and 90s, Oregon led the world in SAT scores along with Washington. They were trading off and on. And then something happened. Back in the 80s and 90s, parents were reading to their children, 50% on a national level. We need to engage parents to develop a relationship with their children, to start reading. It's very difficult for a classroom teacher, K through 3, to enhance that reading program. And nationally right now, as we speak, 15% of all parents, 15% read to their children prior to kindergarten, first grade, which is huge, 15%. And then you're looking at the number of books a child should have read to them by the time they get to first grade is 1,000 books. We read to our children in the womb. And it made a difference. And so we have to encourage and engage parents at this level somehow to read to their children. And to me, it's just essential. When I look at these placements.
Yeah, Kevin, I totally agree. When we do the data drip, those are comments that we should put in the context of the literacy presentation for sure.
Well, I mean, that's part of a community.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move through the agenda right now. On the policy, a policy is a process. We have to put it through OSBA. They have a specialist that reads it and determines if it's legal. If it's legal, then it comes back to us. And then I'd like to take a team approach on that. We certainly don't want to create policy that's challenging for the administration or isn't consistent with their strategies and goals. So it isn't really a team approach to come up with a stronger policy. But by all means, good policy produces good results. And if we have soft policies or policies that are unclear, yes, we should look at them. So I appreciate the work of Directors Pauline and Directors Kelly. We will figure out how to get this started.
I would direct you guys to policy BF and a couple other related policies, related policy adoption and revision.
Thank you.
Just because there is an actual process that follows. Obviously, with a lot of these that were presented tonight, there's a lot of consideration and input that we need from a lot of stakeholders, namely staff and our administrators. So I want to make sure that I'm all about, making improvements and the betterment of the district, but I want to make sure that if we're going to be presenting this, that we're also adhering to our own policies as well.
Yes, a team approach, is that what you would agree to? Yes, a team approach, I think it's reasonable. Thank you, directors. Thank you for all the thought you're putting into the role, the research that you've done, and the understanding of what the school board does. Okay, moving on. Hey, ladies. Can you, Nancy and Lariah, give us your representatives, or give us your report to the board?
I don't have anything to report as of recently. Our rep kind of said it all, but I would like to say that we are very grateful for you guys, and you guys mean a lot to our school system. You help so much, and I love being here, and I love helping everyone, and I love what you guys do, and I am very appreciative of you guys. So every student from Innovations, we'd like to say thank you guys, all of you guys, for what you do and what you do for our community. It's really nice.
You're welcome. You're very generous, Miss Lind. Nancy?
I want to start off with, of course, Happy Student Board Appreciation Month. You guys, of course, are very appreciated, and we see what work you guys are doing and putting all the effort into our schools. For January, students at the Dallas High School are returning from winter break and getting back to their regular routines. This time of year is important for staying caught up on assignments and preparing for the rest of the trimester. Advisory periods continue to help students stay informed about school updates, deadlines, and local scholarship information. For seniors, January is an especially important month. Information about local scholarships will be shared later in the month, and students are being reminded to check their school emails often so they don't miss important details. The Aspire program is still available to help seniors with scholarships and financial aid, and a FAFSA workshop will be held this upcoming Tuesday in the Career Center. Midterms and teacher conferences are also coming up next week, giving families a chance to talk with teachers and review student progress. Student clubs are staying active as well. The HOSA chapter is hosting several clothing sales and formal wear pop-up events through January, helping students raise money for their state leadership conference. In our economic classes, students are getting hands-on experiences through class products projects, where they're learning real-world skills by selling donuts and cupcakes during lunch and at school events. Overall, January is a busy but focused start to the new year at the Dallas High School, as students get back into routines and work toward finishing the school year strong. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sanchez. Okay, we'd love to hear from Kate or Abby. It'd be Abby tonight. I don't see Kate. So, thanks, Abby. All right, if this is too loud or too quiet, you can holler at me. So, thank you guys. I think I know most of you, but I'm Abby Cyphers. I teach second grade at Dry Hollow Elementary. As we recognize School Board Appreciation Month, I'd like to begin by sincerely thanking each of you for the time, energy, and commitment you dedicate to this district. Serving on a school board is demanding, sometimes thankless, unseen work. We understand that. It requires navigating complex decisions, long meetings, and competing priorities, always with students in the community at the forefront, which is super evident tonight. On behalf of our licensed staff, I want to acknowledge and deeply appreciate your service. I would also like to share an important update. Recently, our licensed staff voted to ratify the negotiated contract with the district administration. Thank you both bargaining teams for their efforts, and a special note of appreciation to Director Kramer and Director Winelledge for their service on the bargaining teams. While no contract is ever perfect, this vote reflects our members' desire to move forward and continue working collaboratively with the district. It also reflects appreciation for the thoughtful work and the conversations that went into reaching this agreement amid very real financial and operational constraints. At the same time, it's important to share the broader context in which this vote took place. Licensed staff are still feeling and experiencing high levels of significant burnout. Teachers and specialists are managing increasing workloads while supporting students with increasingly complex needs. Many are doing so by covering classes during their prep time, losing that valuable preparation and stretching themselves thinner than ever before. The ongoing substitute shortage further compounds this strain. When substitutes are unavailable, the responsibility shifts directly to licensed staff, impacting instructional quality, planning time, and overall well-being. Over time, this becomes unsustainable, and it contributes to the burnout that is driving talented educators, not only from our district, but from the profession itself. So our members, I'll leave you with this. I'll put it this way. Our members care deeply about this district and this community. They show up each day because they believe in our students and our community. Ratifying this contract was not a simple vote on numbers and language. It was a vote grounded in the hope that we can continue addressing these challenges together. As we move forward, licensed staff are asking for that continued partnership, transparency, and a shared commitment to sustainability, not only for budgets, but for the people who make our schools run every day. Thank you again for your service, your willingness to engage in these important conversations, and your continued work on behalf of our students and staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. You do the hard work stepping in the classroom. Thank you for your report. Yes, and we will ratify the collective bargaining agreements later in the meeting. So, happy to do so. Thank you very much, Abby. Is Sonia here? From the Northwest Education Support Professionals?
Hi, I am also under the weather, so this is going to be pretty quick. We also wanted to acknowledge and thank the school board for everything that you do. I want to agree with what Abby just said too. We voted and ratified our contract as well. It was a long haul for both sides. From start to finish, prep all the way to ratification was a year for our 5-member bargaining team. So I would like to thank those 5 members. Beside myself was Minnie Clausen, who works at the middle school, Viola South, who's the secretary at the middle school, Joel Chase, who's a maintenance, and Brenda Moore, who is a bus driver. They worked really, really hard and spent a lot of hours on this contract because it was the entire contract. We appreciate the thought that the district bargaining team put into listening, because their bargaining team also was working just as hard. And we'd like to thank them. Dr. Bernal, she was doing us, and some people did us and licensed staff, so they were kind of doing double duty. Dr. Bernal, Sandy Harris, the HR director, Amy Hampton, the SPED director, Dan Peterson, the CFO. We also had Kurt Evans and Phil Williams and Luke Vieira for the admin side, and then we had Mr. Kramer for the kind of toward the end of it. We felt that we were heard, and we really appreciated that we felt we were listened to with what we were projecting. Sometimes it was a little passionate on our side, but we were really happy with the outcome. And we hope that we can continue the relationship that we have had with district office teams that we work with. And that's kind of all I had today.
Thank you for the report. I know, and you said it took a year, and I think that is a reflection of the thought that went into understanding the need and figuring out how to help that and turn that into actual items in the contract. So thank you very much. All right, sports. Jim. It's time for the sports and new business. Come up and present the co-op agreements for the spring 2026 sports with Doofer. Woohoo!
Thank you. Yes, we would like to, Doofers reached out to us to do a co-op with baseball, softball, and boys volleyball.
Okay, that's all?
That's it.
That's it. We have those numbers and reports in our packet. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah, school enrollment. I think that was enrollment.
AD Taylor, I'm guessing since these are all in our packet and you're in front of us that you are recommending the approval of all 3?
Yes, just like I have with the other sports, I came to you, yes.
Thank you.
It looks like we need Doofer to make a boys volleyball team. Is that true?
They probably need us more than we need them. But
projecting like 5 participants in 9th grade and such. Okay.
Yeah. And that's just an estimate because we've never had it before, so we don't know exactly how many kids are going to show up. So they just estimated.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion then.
I had one other question for Director Taylor. Amongst the 3 forms, I noticed that we have league approval for baseball and softball, but it doesn't seem like the form had the league approval for boys volleyball. Is that just a function of it's new?
Yes, it will have that. I just need to get Andy Mott to sign off on it.
Yeah.
It won't be approved by the OSA till Andy Vesticata approves it also.
I assume there was some nuance there because of the newness of boys volleyball to sports now.
Yeah, I gave this to Renata like last Thursday at the last minute, so yes.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. So action item 1 is to approve the baseball and the softball co-op with Doofer. Do we have a motion?
It's boys volleyball too, right?
It's the second action item. We separated them into 2. So
Sorry.
No, you're good. So we'll start with baseball and softball.
Yep, I'll move to approve high school baseball and softball co-op with Dufer for the spring 2026 season as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Thank you, Director Pauline. Do we have any discussion? Well, then, all in favor say aye. Motion passes. By the way, student representatives, do you have any comments about Dufer participating in your sports? All good. Okay, thank you. Appreciate your blessing. How about now a motion to approve the high school boys volleyball co-op?
Director, I would move to approve high school boys volleyball co-op with Dufer for the spring 2026 season.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, superintendent report. Presenter Dr. Carolyn Banal, our superintendent.
Thank you. I just have a few updates tonight. As I mentioned last month, we have completed our negotiations process, and as you heard from both of our unions tonight, they have ratified their agreements, and I echo their sentiments of just thank you for all of the hard work across the table. It was a long process, but I think through continued conversation, we were able to come to agreement. So later this evening, we'll be asking the board to approve the classified and licensed agreements, and then the salary increases for the 25-26 and 26-27 school year for all of the employee groups. We are gearing up for the 2026 legislative short session. Say that 3 times fast. The top 2026 legislative priority for superintendents and educational partners is protecting all K-12 funding. Passage of H.R. 1 has created both a short-term revenue shortfall for all programs funded by state general fund dollars in the 25-27 biennium and drastically cut federal funding for critical social safety net programs like Medicaid and SNAP. These dramatic changes have forced the legislature to consider budget reductions to state funding for programs during the 2026 session and simultaneously prepare for significant loss of federal funding in 27-29 and 29-31. Our top priority for the 2026 session will be mitigating and preventing cuts to K-12 education. And as you heard a little bit tonight, the flu bug has hit our district staff and our substitutes pretty hard. Since the return from break, we've seen an uptick in employee absences due to the flu and other illnesses. It has hit our subs equally as hard, which has set up for a perfect storm, causing staffing shortages across the district. I do, however, want to thank all of our staff and recognize them for really stepping up during these shortages and covering for others. That has not been gone unnoticed. So, and that is all I have in terms of updates. And we have the data drip for literacy. So I'll invite Dr. Ivy to come on up. And we're
Come on
gonna get
down.
started. So this month we're talking about literacy data, and this review will explore patterns of literacy development and growth across our schools and student groups, as well as learning about the work that's happening in North Wasco to support literacy development. By the end of this data review, we hope that board members will feel more comfortable interpreting literacy data by school and student group. You'll be able to identify trends and gaps and patterns in literacy growth and performance, and also learn about the strategies to support early literacy development, including teacher professional learning and student interventions and supports. So when you think about learning to read, school board members, what do you remember most clearly? When you think about how you learned to read as a child, like what do you remember most about learning to read as a child?
I thought those were great questions. I don't remember anything.
I specifically remember my dad reading every night.
Learning letters, sounds, and phonetically sounding out words.
Immersion, lots of stories.
Anyone else? So I remember as a little girl, I was a late bloomer and I did not learn to read until almost halfway through second grade. And my first grade teacher, who was amazing, Mrs. Manzer, she was my favorite teacher. And when I was in school at that time, because the pendulum always swings like back and forth in terms of how do you teach reading, but at that time it was, phonics was not the thing, and it was more about whole literacy and just being read to. And she had told my mom that she just wasn't worried about me. She just knew one day I was going to get it. And so one day she finally told my mom, yep, I think she finally learned how to read. And my mom was like, what? And she said, yeah, have her read a book to you tonight. And she said, how do you know? And she said, well, she was standing next to me at my desk and she was reading a note from another teacher upside down. So I was like, yeah. So I just remember that story, and yeah, phonics wasn't the thing at the time when I was learning to read. It was all about the whole literacy approach. But all right. So when we think about literacy development, we think about it in phases. So in K2, children are learning to read. In 3-5, we're reading to learn. And then in 6-8, we're applying reading to complex texts. And we know that when students don't develop literacy skills early on, they will struggle across subjects, and that the gaps often grow over time, and the support needed to catch up becomes more intensive. When we think about how reading was often taught in the past, many students learn to read through context clues, pictures, guessing unfamiliar words, memorization. Now, we think about like the pendulum swinging, we are thinking about what is the science of reading. The science of reading is research, not a program. It draws from neuroscience, psychology, linguistics, and education research. And there's 5 pillars under the umbrella of the science of reading. There's phonemic awareness, there's phonics, vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension. And what it emphasizes is that most students need explicit, systematic instruction in hearing and working with sounds in spoken language, understanding how letters represent sounds, blending sounds to read words, building fluency so reading becomes automatic, and developing vocabulary and comprehension. So what does that look like in our district? We are supporting strong literacy instruction by implementing curriculum that aligns with science of reading, including Foundations, which is our phonics program. We're training our teachers in the science of reading through Eastern Oregon University. We're using iReady interim assessment data to reflect and improve instruction. We're providing reading interventions to students across K-8 and providing high dosage tutoring to students. And why does teacher training matter? Well, high quality reading instruction depends on understanding how students learn to read, consistency across classrooms, and the ability to respond when students struggle. I think I shared with you at our last meeting, we did qualify for high dosage tutoring dollars. We have received those dollars. We will get approximately close to $200,000 over the next 2 years for this year and next year. So we're currently working on what that plan is going to look like in North Wasco. And then there's a lot of criteria that goes along with high dosage tutoring. And we are in a community of practice. Dr. Ivy and I are in a community of practice where all the districts that are doing high dosage tutoring across the state come together once a month for a meeting together, and that way we get to learn from each other, from other districts. What are you doing? What's been successful? What's working for you? And share best practices. So now we're going to talk about assessments. I'll turn the time over to Dr. Ivy, talk a little bit about the different assessments that we use.
Thank you. So we just wanted to kind of talk about, when we talk about assessment, when I was in school, I remember learning to read by taking tests. And those tests would determine whether or not I was a good reader and I would be in like the high group, or not a good reader and be in the low group. And so we really have shifted the way we're thinking about assessments. I was really excited to hear in TDMS they made a lot of growth in assessments, and they're really thinking about their own individual goals. And so when we think about assessment, we want to think about a balanced assessment system. We're not only thinking about statewide assessments, because those statewide assessments don't actually tell us how students are doing. Instead, they give us patterns of understanding across an entire district so we can make systematic decisions. And so if you look up here, this is really what a balanced assessment includes. Will you go back one more? So we have kind of three types of assessments. The first is assessments of learning. And so assessments of learning really evaluate student achievement at the end of instruction. So this could be at the end of a school year, this could be at the end of a particular unit, and so it's really asking, did students understand what they were supposed to understand throughout their learning? We really think of assessment of learning as being an audience of the state, for example, ODE in our case, district, school accountability teams, the school board, and again, they're really at the end of annual, right, end of course. The results of assessments of learning are really to measure the mastery of state standards, and then to compare performance across schools and districts and inform accountability and policy decisions. They really don't often impact daily instruction, because oftentimes as teachers will tell you, by the time we get back state assessments, there's not really enough time for us to say, oh, well, our students didn't do well in this, they need more time. But again, it's helping us as a school district to say, this is where our students are struggling, here's some systematic decisions we need to make to be able to think about how we can better serve our students in the following year. The second bullet point on there, there's not very much text, but a lot to say. The second bullet point here are our interim assessments. These are assessments for learning. If you are following any of the accountability work at the state level, this is something that is very intentionally included in SB 141, our accountability bill, of really saying, yes, it's of course important that our students take our statewide assessments, but we don't want to wait until the end of the year to know how our students are doing, because at that point, it's too late. And so our interim assessments, they're given more often, and they really are used to inform instructions so that we don't find out at the end of a school year that a student is struggling in certain standards, but instead we're finding out throughout the school year. And so our interim assessments or assessments for learning, this is really focused on monitoring progress towards standards, again, during the school year. Unlike the audience for assessments of learning, which is this higher level system, assessments for learning, this is teachers, it's instructional teams, it's a TLA department, it's school leaders, to really determine what changes need to be made in the moment at the school. These are usually given periodically, so quarterly, at the end of a unit, kind of checkpoints. And then the results are used to identify trends, strengths, gaps, adjust pacing, adjust grouping, identify interventions or identify students for particular interventions. And these really guide instructional planning and support intervention systems. I do want to point out that we are pretty excited because it is a requirement of school districts to adopt an interim assessment, and the state is going to give us 4 interim assessments. Right now they have adopted 3, and one of those is iReady, and we are already using that. We have already purchased it, so we are going to really be ahead of the game in terms of already having something in place that we can look at trends over time. We're going to be looking at the iReady data tonight, so when we think of that, we're thinking about this as assessment for learning because it is very much impacting instruction and how we're thinking about supporting our students. The last type of assessment that's up there, this is assessment as learning. One of the requirements from the state is local performance assessments. And so local performance assessments are something that our teachers at each grade level across the district are deciding, what do we want to make sure that students are learning from our curriculum? So for example, our teachers are going to do a local performance assessment in science. All the 5th grade teachers are going to be assessing their students on the same science unit, same science kind of lesson sequence to determine how are they doing. And again, that's going to help us both understand how students are doing as well as make instructional decisions about what we can do in our classroom to better support our students. Really the purpose for assessment as learning is to engage students in demonstration through authentic tasks. We really want to put students in charge of their learning. We want to provide them the agency to set goals and to really think about kind of metacognitively how they are learning throughout their process. The audience for assessment as learning is students and teachers, because this is really focusing on helping the teachers to better instruction for students, or to better create instructional opportunities for students, and then helping students feel empowered by their learning. The timing of these kind of depends. Again, we have our local performance assessments. These are things that are required, but teachers are doing assessments as learning every day in their classroom. They're doing exit tickets, they're doing formative assessment, they're having students build portfolios, anything that's going to help the teachers to understand, are the students learning? If not, what can they shift? What can they do in order to ensure that students are meeting the markers? Those results are really used to promote student reflection, self-assessment, provide rich evidence of understanding and skill application, and then support feedback and revision cycles. So if we think about, again, big picture, statewide, those are assessments of learning. Those confirm what students have learned. Our interim, or assessment for learning, this really informs what to teach next, or what students need more support. And then our assessment as learning, or our interim assessments, these really help, local performance assessments, these really empower students really to understand their own learning. So we're gonna dig in deeply to our interim or assessment for learning, which is already tonight, but I wanna tell you a little bit more about each of these types of assessment, just because when we go through this, it's important we understand the context of what we're looking at. Now I can be done. You can go to the next one. Okay, so the first one, as I mentioned, this is assessment of learning. So these are our statewide assessments. In Oregon, we use the OSAS, which is our Oregon statewide assessment system, and these are designed to serve as our assessment of learning. Our OSAS assessments measure how well students have met Oregon academic standards. After instruction has occurred, however, any teacher will tell you they often occur before all of your instruction has been taught. And so it's kind of a catch-22, because we know we want to have them during the spring, and yet we know that there are not all of our units have been taught in the spring. However, these summative assessments are summative, meaning they provide a snapshot of student achievement at a specific point in time, rather than guiding daily instruction. And if you're not familiar, OSAS statewide assessments occur in English language arts, mathematics, and science. And they're administered at designated grade levels just to ensure consistent measurement across the state. These actually allow us to see how we are kind of measuring up against other districts across the state, which is just a way for us to see how we're doing. So these results, as I mentioned before, really are used to monitor system level trends over time. We can see how students' cohorts are doing from year to year. To identify achievement gaps across student groups, oftentimes our OSAS is determining, are there certain schools that need more intervention? Are there certain schools that need more instructional assistance? And then they support accountability and improvement planning. Again, not individual instructional decisions, but how we're thinking about systemic learning. And so on the next slide here, what you can see is just...
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Real quick?
Yeah.
So when you were saying that here in our district, if not all units are taught in spring, but they're being tested, and we're looking at it statewide, are the other school districts in the same boat, not teaching everything by spring? Because is it apples to oranges, or
No.
is everybody doing it that way?
I think everyone has a hard time making sure they're teaching all of their units. However, what we have done with our curriculum, and this is what most school districts are doing, is they're making sure those priority standards or power standards that are more often going to show up on our statewide assessments are taught before spring. But again, we're not taking it at the end of the school year, right? We're taking it in the spring. So there's still learning time that hasn't happened yet, which is why we want to have multiple forms of assessment so that we can see how students are growing over time. And oftentimes that spring assessment, like our interim assessment, might occur after the statewide assessment, which gives us more information to say, okay, now students are growing even after that statewide assessment.
Can I follow up a question there? Do you think if all the units had been taught and the year is complete and they were tested in June, would it change the scores?
I mean, I think it depends on the curriculum. I think it depends on the student. The hard thing about an OSAS assessment, it really is a measure of one day, right? So some students could come in and they might have had a really bad night's sleep. They might be really stressed. There's a lot of things that are happening for that student. And so I think it's hard to kind of, make an assumption about how they would or would not do. Again, that's why we have a lot of different assessments. So we can say a student might have assessed, on the OSAS a certain way, but what we're looking at is interim assessments. They're making a ton of growth across the year. That's what we want to see. And so it's really that kind of, again, balanced assessment system. So we're not looking at one score and making a determination about a student, but looking at the whole picture of where they're at.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are we on a trimester still?
So the high school's on a trimester. I think the middle school trimester.
So a student would be taking theoretically a math class in the fall, skip the winter, and then be tested in the spring.
Yes, but that spring, so they should not be tested until they're in that third trimester. And I can double check that too. We can look at the calendars of the testing
Because I
administration.
know that's one of the limitations that we've had
Yeah.
in the past.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, if we look at scheduling, there are limitations, I think, to trimesters, to quarters, and this is something I think that a lot of districts deal with, but definitely something that as we're talking about, just how to make sure.
I can see that'd be a real problem for a math teacher to be evaluated on that.
Yeah. And I mean, the good news is that how we are understanding assessments of learning is they're not evaluating like a single teacher's performance, rather they're helping us to understand district-wide trends. And, you know, as a teacher, you still want to make sure your students are performing well. So it is important to think about, but we want to make sure that we're not thinking about that as an evaluation of teacher skill, because there's a lot of context that's missing if we look at one student score. So on this slide here, again, I just wanted to give us a snapshot of some data around the OSAS. I don't want to spend a ton of time here because this is data that, again, this gives us a moment in time, and our interim assessments really help us to see growth over time. So what we can see here really is just looking at where our students are at across school years. What I wanted to highlight is even though we have seen kind of a little bit of a decline, we are seeing growth in an upward motion from 24-25. And so what this tells me is that the work that we're doing with our teachers in early literacy training, the new curriculum that is now better aligned with science of reading is making an impact. We know we're not going to see a huge impact year one. We're going to have to continue kind of, you know, really working, really making sure that our professional development is effective so that we can continue seeing growth. But I think this just represents, again, like the hard work of the teachers, all the work that they're doing to engage in learning. We've had excellent participation in our science of reading course. It is a very rigorous course. And our teachers are dedicated to doing that learning, to learning new curriculum, which is exciting that it's showing in our data, even though it's maybe not where we want it to be, there is growth over time.
Can I ask a clarifying question? You might have said it and I missed it, so I apologize. Is this representing the entire district or just third grade?
This is actually just representing all of the state.
Oh, the state.
The state, okay. Yeah. And so we're seeing growth over kind of the state.
Yeah. Okay.
And we're going to get more into what it looks like specifically in North Wasco, but that's just state. And again, like as I'm talking, just mentioning the state is seeing growth because a lot of the work that we're doing in North Wasco is very similar to what's happening across the state because of the movement towards science of reading.
Sure. So this represents all the grades statewide?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you. Okay. And so this is just third grade proficiency. So this is statewide literacy, third grade proficiency. And the reason why we're focusing on third grade here is that third grade proficiency is one of our markers of success. And so we're looking at kind of our big five. We're looking at regular attenders, which we looked at during our last data drip, third grade reading proficiency, ninth grade on track, and then high school graduation and 5-year completion. And so I wanted to show here really where we're looking at statewide, where our students are at, broken down by demographics. And so what we can see here is that, you know, all of our students are essentially performing across the state at about 40%. But if you look at certain groups of students, we might see lower than 40%. So for example, for our English learners, across the state, we're seeing only 6% of our English learners are proficient. Whereas, for example, we're seeing 46% of our multiracial students as being proficient in third grade reading. Anything else as you look at that maybe you find interesting in terms of our third grade reading proficiency? Yeah. Anything else you find interesting just looking at third grade reading proficiency? Again, statewide literacy from what we're looking at broken down by demographic.
What does extended assessment mean?
So that is students that have an IEP, and so they have an extended assessment, which means they have a longer opportunity to take that assessment based on their IEP to support their own success. Any other noticings, wonderings as you look at that statewide literacy context?
It's somewhat predictable.
Yeah. Yep. Somewhat predictable, and if we look at other states, our numbers might look a little bit different, but in terms of the kind of variability, there is a level of predictability in that variability.
in the group, as their group.
Yes.
I was going to say the same, but just curiosity that, of your opinion, does it correlate with attendance? What we're seeing with attendance rates?
I would actually say no. I don't think, I mean, I think that there is a level of correlation because if students aren't in class, right, then they're not going to get that literacy instruction. We would have to really look at our district to see if there's correlation, but a lot of times our assessments are often written for our students who are English speakers who are native to the United States. There's a level of kind of cultural responsivity that certain students are more successful at, and so it can have to do with just the language of the assessment as well. So I think there's a lot of complexity in terms of how students do on those assessments.
You know, there's grouped by trauma.
Yeah.
Houseless is trauma.
Yep.
Foster care, trauma. And then there's grouped by culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we really look at like historically underserved.
How do you deal with culture trauma crossovers? Where are they?
Yeah, and I mean, I think this is why we really want to think about our growth measures, right? And this is why we want to talk about those interim assessments, because then we're not only looking at achievement, we're looking at how students are growing over time.
How long have we had the new curriculum?
Our new curriculum has been in place, I think this is year 4, or year 3.
But why are we still learning to use it?
So remember, this is statewide literacy context. So we're looking at the whole state. This is not just North Wasco. And you know, if you're learning a new curriculum, it takes time. So a new curriculum, if you ever want to come over to the Innovations Academy Library, we can show you the curriculum. I think if you see the depth of the curriculum and just the amount of work that is required, it might make a little bit more sense as to why it does take a lot of time to learn. The other thing is at the elementary level, our teachers aren't learning one curriculum. They're learning many curriculums. So they're learning, for example, Wit and Wisdom is going to be kind of our content area literacy. They're learning Foundations, which is our phonics. They're also learning Mystery Science, which is a new science curriculum. They're learning iReady, which is a new math curriculum. And then on top of that, right, they're teaching many other things such as Character Strong for SEL. They're learning Responsive Classroom. So I think it's important that we look at it kind of, you know, overarching instead of just they're learning one curriculum. It's a lot for teachers to learn, especially just as Abby mentioned, in the context of there's a lot of high needs that our students are coming with, and so really wanting to make sure that they're learning it in a way that allows them really to meet the needs of their students, which often doesn't mean just teaching it page by page, but really thinking about how to supplement that curriculum to be able to meet the varying needs of the students in their classrooms. If we go to slide 19, this is just looking at North Wasco. So previously, again, we were looking at the state, and I want to look a little bit at North Wasco, and again, I'm going to go through these rather quickly because I really want to get to the interim assessments because that's where we really get to see how our students are growing over time. So we can see here that there has been a drop for our North Wasco literacy rates in 3rd grade. This is a percent scoring 3 or higher. So these are our students that we're seeing proficiency in. We saw 42% in 2019, and then we saw a rather large drop during the 21-22 school year. You'll see that there's no assessment in 2020, 2021, and that's because of COVID. These rates mirror what we're seeing statewide. So this is not something that is unique to North Wasco. And we're also looking at, on top of this, again, contextually, that there's a new curriculum adopted, new learning that is happening that takes time for teachers to be able to really think about how to use in their classrooms in a way that's going to really impact their instruction and their student outcomes.
What is the scale? What is the total scale, and what does 3 represent?
3 represents proficient. I think it's 3 through 5, if I'm correct. And so it's just saying these are students that are reading at a proficient level at grade 3.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. If we look at the next slide, this is just going again into a little bit of more detail. And so this is looking at our 3rd grade proficiency by race, ethnicity over time. Sorry, it looks like that's cut off a little bit. So we can see there are certain groups, for example, our multiracial students are actually growing, which is exciting to see. And we do see a little bit of a drop for our Latinx students and our white students, but again, it's a very small drop and something that we really expect to see now growing as our teachers are getting more familiar with the curriculum. And our students are not seeing that that learning loss that happened during COVID, because a lot of our students that we're seeing here in third grade, those were students that probably attended kindergarten and first grade online, and so we're definitely seeing the impact of that in this data.
Yeah, my question's related to the last slide. Sorry, I didn't get my hand up earlier. I would be interested to see what the trend was prior to COVID. I think it'd be interesting to see a 5-year back look on that, because we can correlate right here that, you know, obviously COVID with not being in school.
Yeah, we can pull that. I think our data specialists probably have that data that we can look at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and at the same time, I feel like we're also getting away from the COVID effect where
absolutely
the kindergartners and whatnot.
Yeah, and so if we're looking at our third graders now, I mean, again, there is going to be a difference whether or not they attended kindergarten and first grade. Really are foundational if we're looking at literacy development, especially first grade. And so if those students did not have that opportunity to develop their literacy in third grade, as Dr. Brunel mentioned, the older students get, the more interventions and support they are going to need in order to come up to grade level in reading. And so I think, you know, there's a hope that as our teachers are getting more learning, as our students are in classrooms getting that foundational skill development, that we'll continue to see that trend grow over time.
Right, yeah. Like for me, I would expect over the next couple of years, we'd be back up into the pre-COVID numbers.
I would expect the same. And I know our teachers are working incredibly hard to make that happen. This next slide up here, this is looking at just students, again in third grade, but by program over time. So we're looking at our multilingual learners, our students in migrant education, our students experiencing poverty, and our students with disabilities. Again, I want to mention before we move on, this is a moment in time, right? So this is why it's so important that we're looking at the whole balanced assessment system, because what I don't want you to walk away with is thinking our students aren't reading and our teachers aren't working hard. Like, our teachers are working incredibly hard, and as you mentioned, right, it's not just the teacher's job. There's a lot of work to support outside of the classroom in terms of just literacy development, which is why we want to kind of think about what those iReady scores look like as we look at that growth measure. Do you want to add something? I see you ready.
I'm just wondering if we learn to speak by being immersed in speaking. We learn to read, in essence, by being immersed in reading. I've read a couple studies on Scandinavia. They've thrown out the laptops, and it's all pencil. Have you seen any research with regard to the kinetic modalities being influenced by the reading? And
yeah,
what can you help with?
Yeah, I mean, I can't say that I can say research off the top of my head, but yes, I mean, there's a lot of research that looks at just the importance of students actually being able to interact with their learning.
Well, just the movement of the pen,
yep,
etc.
Just kinesthetic learning, absolutely. And I know that a lot of our curriculums are using more hands-on. I mean, you are going to walk into classrooms and see computers, but there's a blend.
Well, I would think with the AI, and being an English teacher at one time, boy, I would think that the pen would be coming back.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. Yeah. Okay, so the next type of learning, actually, can you go forward? I'm not going to go one more. Is assessments as learning. I just want to briefly go over this. And so, again, assessments as learning are really thinking about placing students at the center of the assessment process. And so, I mentioned before, our local performance assessment are really thinking about how students are understanding their learning through authentic application. They're embedded within daily instruction. Depending upon the school, they might include projects, presentations, performances. They might include a more traditional assessment. If you haven't had a chance to see some of our project-based learning that's happening across the schools, it's pretty incredible. There's our Curiosity Quest happening. There's different clubs happening. There's some project-based learning happening. And so this is really just a chance for our students, again, to be at the center of their learning. We don't have data on this right now to share with you, but I think I would just encourage you to head to our schools, because you'll be able to see a lot of really incredible things that our students are doing to show their learning in different ways than sitting down and taking a standardized assessment. All right, now I'm going to make you go back the other way. There we go. Okay, this is where I want to spend the bulk of our time. So ahead of tonight, you received a packet of data. and these are our iReady assessments. I wanted to share with you a little bit about iReady assessments, just what they are, so that when we talk about them, there'll be some clarity in terms of what it is that we're looking at. Does everyone have that data in front of them? Okay, cool. So, our iReady assessments, we are right now in the diagnostic window of our iReady assessments, which means that students are taking their winter assessments. When we come back to you again, we'll really be able to show you even stronger evidence of growth over time, because we'll be able to look at fall assessments and then winter assessments to look at how our students did between that fall and winter. And so, as I mentioned before, our iReady interim assessments, they are measuring student progress toward grade level standards. They're a very similar kind of idea as our statewide assessments, but again, we're not waiting until the end of the year. We're saying, how are students doing at these different points in time? The iReady interim assessment is adaptive, diagnostic, and progress monitoring in both reading and math. And again, it really provides that timely, actionable data for teachers, and it's used to guide instruction, intervention, and support learning growth. I really want to highlight here that growth measure. And so I know that, for example, at TDMS, our representative mentioned that they're making goals, right? And so they're identifying what they want their growth goals to be. And so this is something that really puts students at the center and helps them to really think about their own learning and how they're doing on growth. We're not just looking at achievement, but we're looking at where did you start and where do you want to go. During the spring, we can also show you some really cool data where we can look at what the kind of expected growth is for a particular student and whether or not they surpass that growth. They might not be meeting standards on the statewide assessment, but maybe they made 2 years of growth, which is really incredible to see. But what we're going to look at tonight is just our kind of current data on where we're at with our iReady. Even though our students take iReady diagnostic in both math and literacy, we're just going to look at literacy tonight. So you should have literacy in front of you. And so what you're looking at, you can go to the next slide, is the most recently completed iReady diagnostic. Again, they're taking it right now, and so we're not going to see that data because we're right in the middle of that window. You're going to see Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, which shows you if students are on grade level, approaching grade level, or significantly below grade level. And we're going to be able to see kind of what that growth is across years. So what I want to do is, it's kind of a similar protocol to what we used last time, but a little bit different. And so the first thing I just wanted us to talk about is what do you notice? You can go to the next slide. So when you look at that data, what are some bright spots that you see? Maybe some patterns, some trends. We might share some concerns, some differences that you notice. And remember, we're not going to share kind of interpretations or assumptions yet, but just what are you noticing as you're looking at the data?
Well, I'd love to ask Nancy and Lariah, who have gone through the school system, did you ever feel like you were in the red? If it's data, red is, 3 or more grade levels behind, 2 or more levels. What's been your reading experience?
I love reading, but iReady, it's an amazing program, don't get me wrong, but I had a struggle with it, mainly because I don't know, but iReady is a good thing. I'm not trying to say anything bad about it, but it's really good. I was definitely in the red zone a couple times, but I was like in the middle.
Okay. So it's okay to be, I want to demystify the red zone. That's what I'm trying to do. It's okay to be in the red zone because I don't think it's a permanent place and that you can get out of the red zone, right? Students. Say again? Feel like that, but okay.
It's not as scary as it should be.
It's not as scary as it might look like on the paper, right? How about you, Nancy?
I never used iReady, so I'm not sure where I would be on this, but I would do different testing or like different websites, and I really liked school. I really do like school, so I kind of like was a big nerd about it, and I was always like willing to push for more, but like state testings, I always was like above, so I don't really recall being in the red. So I don't know if that's what you guys wanted to hear or not, but yeah.
But you did point out one thing, and that is motivation. motivation is important.
That, and I think, for a lot of students, there's just a level of like test anxiety. So, Lorraine, like you mentioned, like you love to read, right? But sitting down and taking a test is really challenging. And I mean, there are some students, there's some adults who, really struggle with assessments, even if they have all of those skills. There's other people that are just really good at assessments, even if it's not something that they feel very confident in. So I think it's, again, like this is why we have multiple data points, so that we can really look at where students are and what they need instead of saying, you are in the red. Like we want to make sure that we're not thinking about categorizing students, but really saying like, here's where you are. What do you need to grow? Like what would help you grow?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you.
So what are we noticing with that data? Anything that sticks out to you?
For me, when I look at the overall district, and it's kind of just a wondering I've had in the back of my head, I look at the start at kindergarten, and we've got a huge percentage that is already kind of one grade level behind, and it's always been just to me an acknowledgement like we are at kind of early learning desert. There aren't as many opportunities for our families to have kind of pre-K opportunities, and so when they come through our buildings, you have a spectrum of abilities for those kiddos, right? You have some that had some formalized, pre-K experience, and some that did not. And I think out of the gate, we're kind of getting that mixed bag. And I wonder, like, in my head, what that would look like if our community had more of those opportunities for our, pre-K kiddos, what the impact of that would be. And I know that's out of our control, but like when I think of big picture systems, like I see right out of the gate, like we're already playing catch up as D21. And what other opportunities can the community come together for the better of all our kiddos?
I think you just started a new committee.
I'm all for it.
I love it. Yeah, and I mean, we look at research, right, and we see students who have access to pre-K where they're getting that opportunity. We're seeing a lot of growth that's happening, and we don't often see that in North Wasco. And so, if we're looking at students who are coming in not knowing those, letter sounds, letter names, all of those things, they're already coming in behind. So yes, that's an excellent point. And I agree. I think it'd be amazing if we could have some pretty strong pre-K programs. I think we'd see huge growth.
One thing I noticed is on the innovations page, it starts out at yellow and red, but stays mostly yellow, which means one grade below. And then like fifth grade, you see a lot of on target or maybe mid or above grade level, but then it kind of gets worse. Do you think you could walk through, like why we would see one grade below on innovations, virtual?
I mean, I think with virtual, there is so much research around the impact of virtual education, and it has a lot to do with the support students have at home or whether or not they are independent learners. It also has to do with why students are in virtual spaces. And so I can't speak directly to what's happening at IVA, but I think it's, again, that's kind of a student by student, right? So if we look at student by student, we could figure out what is that student story and why are we seeing that maybe dip? And if we look at that over time, we might see that those students actually increase over time individually, but we might just be seeing that trend as a whole just because of, again, it's a day.
But I think that the virtual academies colors are good because in grades 3 and 4, they're just all yellow.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no red. And so I'm curious if we're getting through the COVID there and we're having some success, because even if you look at our regular elementaries, we've got red, and the trend is the red increases from first grade, second grade, third grade. And I'm curious about that. You're all starting out even at K, and then and I know children learn at different speeds. And timing.
Yep.
And so is that what's happening there?
Well, and it's interesting because that actually is wildly different than what we often see within virtual programs. We don't see our students succeeding on assessments as often just nationwide. And so I think this is also a testament to the programming and the teachers at IVA that we're really able to see that growth with our students.
Yeah.
What else are we noticing? Or we can just, I think we're already wondering, so we can do notice and wonder. I'll let you break the protocol.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder about the test strategies. We have to teach, I'm assuming it's multiple choice. So we have to pre-teach about selecting the best answer and elimination, et cetera. And I wonder if kids are grasping that at all in part of this. May help a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's taking a test as a language, right? You really you have to understand what is the question actually asking. That is part of being a really good test taker. Like I said, I mean, there are people that are really solid test takers on subjects that they don't actually know a lot about because they can think about exactly what you just shared. How do you eliminate the distractors, right? What are the keywords in the question? And so those are things that I think the benefit of having something like an iReady assessment is that is also setting up students for when they take that statewide assessment. They're already kind of learning. Yes, they're learning what the strategy is versus if they're only taking that statewide assessment once a year and they already have test anxiety, right? That is a whole lot of pressure. But this is really helping students so that by the time they get to 6th grade, they've taken an iReady assessment on a computer many times, and so it can build their confidence in terms of using that program.
So I noticed phonological awareness is part of the science of reading.
Yes, it is.
And I noticed that at the middle school, it's not measured. Maybe that's because it hadn't been part of the curriculum requirements. It was the old school way of teaching reading.
It's actually just because there is an expectation, as Dr. Bernal mentioned, we go learning to read, reading to learn, and then applying our reading in complex texts. So by the time students are hitting middle school, the expectation is that phonological awareness is there.
Yeah.
And what we know is that is not always true. That's an assumption that is inaccurate for some of our students.
Is that why in the elementary schools, half of that is measured? Because you're only looking at your 1K and 2 for phonological, when really it's the rest of them that still need that support.
Yes, and that is where other assessments that our teachers are giving come into play, because our teachers are understanding through, for example, foundations assessments, how our students are doing. And so, for example, at the middle school level, we have 2 teachers right now, a language arts teacher and a reading teacher, who are doing a lot of intervention work with middle schoolers to really be able to support more of that phonological awareness, more of that phonics, so that students can make the progress needed.
Do we have reading specialists in the elementary schools?
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Those are going to be our title teachers. So we have 2 title teachers, a reading specialist at Chenoweth, and then we have 1 at Dry Hollow and 1 at Colonel Wright.
And do they use the same curriculum, foundations, or they have supplemental material?
Most of them are using foundations. They're also using Wilson Reading. They're using another program called Walpole, and they're supplementing based on their students. So the nice thing about our reading specialists and just the structure that our program is set in is they're working in small groups. And so they're not teaching to a class of 30, they're teaching to those small groups.
Right, which is important because reading is an intensive activity.
Yep, and that's something I'm really excited about. I know Dr. Bernal talked a bit about high dosage tutoring, but with that particular grant that we received from the state, there's very specific criteria with that. One is that the ratio can only be 1 to 4. So that is the most students a teacher can have at a time within that kind of intervention block or that tutoring block. And so that's really going to be a lot of just intensive, explicit instruction to be able to help those students make that progress.
I mean, that is reality. Reading success requires intensive,
explicit instruction. Yeah, and that's something that the science of reading really tells us is they need that explicit instruction. And like Dr. Bernal mentioned, like there are some students who maybe don't need that in the same way as others, but really all of our students need to understand phonics and phonemic awareness. And so the curriculum we have now, the training that our teachers are doing, is really going to help them to be able to just build that base along with the curriculum to be able to support our students. Any other noticings or wonderings as you look through that data?
Yeah, I noticed that in elementary, generally, the further you go, it looks like the same number, or generally the same number of students that are behind. The numbers of years stack as you get to 5th grade.
Yep.
And then in middle school, it seems like it peaks at 7th grade. and tapers back at 8th.
And so one of the really exciting things is with our early literacy grant that is designed for K through 3, but what the state is realizing, what the legislature realizes, actually we need to move that to 5th grade because exactly what you just shared. And so that high dosage tutoring grant is actually able to support K-5.
Yeah.
So we're able to do that work with our students who need that intensive support that might not have had it.
Right. So I read somewhere that there was after-school tutoring, high dosage. Is that happening now?
Yeah, that's happening now. So we have, it's not going to be the same as what we're going to be implementing, but there is tutoring in our after-school program at Chenoweth.
Yeah.
With that grant that we received, we are going to supplement that program to be able to have more high-dosage tutoring, and then we're going to have additional funds to be able to do some high-dosage tutoring during the day.
When the high-dosage program is all set out, will that be within the school day or after school?
Both.
Both, okay.
Yeah, so we'll be sharing really what the specifics of that program are when we come back in February. We want to make sure that it's something that is going to be value add and not to add something else to the teacher's plates, and something that we can really spend time learning about to see what is effective for our students so that they're making the progress that they need. Because the hard thing is what students get to middle school, it is a lot harder to make up those foundational skills. Especially as like a lot of our training, for example, our early literacy training, that's really geared toward elementary teachers. And so we really want to make sure that our students are leaving elementary school with those foundational skills. So we're hopeful that all this tutoring that we're able to have funding for will help our students make up those skills.
Do you think no, never mind. The question was, do you think as our teachers become more proficient with foundations, which is the reading program that supplements wit and wisdom, do you think then there'll be less requirement for high dosage tutoring? And I'll answer my own question, no.
I would agree with you, because I think there's always going to be students that would benefit from tutoring for a variety of different ways. It could be dyslexia, it could be a learning disability, it could just be anxiety. I mean, there's a lot of different
It could be lack of preparedness. So we talked about, Dr. Kramer talked about preparedness. And so it's true. Reading, being read to is like a huge component of being able to learn to read.
Absolutely.
And if only 15% of parents do that, then the other 75% are showing up on day one and they're in the red. So whose responsibility is it to let those parents know from birth to, how old are they, 5? From birth to 5, you are the teacher. Whose responsibility is it? Everyone's, but who's doing it? I think, in some cases, maybe if you're in some kind of an intensive social services setting, I'm not sure if that comes up, or do we need to, do we need to go stuff read to your child, here's why, in every, MCMC birth packet that, for child that's born, like, hey, how do we participate in community education around that so kids show up more prepared? I mean, part of that is read to your child. The other part of that is screen time is damaging. We all know that. And that there needs to be healthier boundaries around screens. There's a high cost to that, socially and educationally. Yes, there's always that.
Yeah. Well, since it's 7:56, I'm going to move us on a little bit. The last question I just wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about is really what should we watch going forward? And so I mentioned, we're really looking at those interim assessment scores. We're really looking at growth over time. We're looking at the local performance assessments. So I'm curious from you all, is there something that you are really interested in learning more about in terms of literacy that you would like to see as we come back throughout the rest of this year? Dr. Aparicio.
I think for me, we tend to focus on those that are performing less or not at grade level. I think for me, I'd also like to not forget about those at the upper end, and do we have the supports to continue to push them as they're able to excel in whatever subject matter that is. Obviously, we're talking about literacy today, but I think that's a group that I don't want to forget in this context. To me, that's part of just making sure that each kiddo has the support that they need. So if they need to get to grade level, let's support them to get there. If the kiddo is excelling, then I want to continue to push them to be the best that they can be.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. And I think, that's something that we do have a tag program And Courtney Middleton, who is our tag coordinator right now, she and I are in constant conversation to think about what that looks like, right? To really provide our students the enrichment so they continue growing and they continue to be engaged in school.
I don't think that's really an issue. We have AP classes, we have honors classes at the high school level. We also have a connection with Columbia Gorge.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think we're getting the job done for the upper ends.
Yep.
However, this is alarming.
Yeah, and I think we do have a lot of opportunities in the high school, but I think thinking about, our tag students in the elementary and middle school so that they can continue to be engaged as they get to high school. But I think just appreciating the point of all of our students need support and intervention and enrichment opportunities. And so, multi-tiered systems of support are really designed to be able to support all of our students in the unique ways they need support.
When you're an elementary teacher and you have about 5 or 6 different levels of children in a classroom, I mean, I think that's where we got to hammer a little bit of more support, especially with some of the results I'm seeing here. Boots on the ground.
Yeah, and one of the things that our elementary schools do, it's called win time, so what I need. And so they're getting specific interventions and enrichment based on their needs. And so, I think as we continue to really again, build up that program, my hope is that we're going to continue to see that impacting where our students are. Because you're right, I mean, as an elementary teacher, it's hard when you have students that are far above grade level, far below grade level, and then, everywhere in between.
What's that program called?
WIN, so it's what I need. Yeah, the acronym.
What I need for success.
Yes.
Basically.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. Well,
I have one last question. What's the long-term anticipated use of iReady?
So right now we are using it specifically for our math curriculum. So we adopted it for math. So we'll be using it long-term there. Right now we are using it for our interim assessment, especially because that is the interim assessment, one of the 3 that the state adopted. We will continue to use that unless we see that it's not meeting our needs or we hear something else from the state in terms of that not meeting the required law.
Okay, because one of the things, this was our first year using iReady? Second, okay. So,
but the data that you're looking at would be last year, so yes,
was,
year 1.
Would be last year's. Okay, so in the future, we're going to start to be able to see trends. Because I see if you go to the elementary pages, 5th grade, there's a lot more red than green.
Yep. Yeah, so we'll be able to see trends over time. Even at the end of this year, we'll be able to see trends over time. There are other reading assessments, for example, that we were using prior. The hard thing is that we could give you that, but it's like comparing oranges to apples, so it wouldn't be effective to really see where students are.
Right.
But yes, I mean, I'm excited to bring that back to be able to show you what we're seeing in terms of growth.
Okay, yeah, because I see that stacking into 6th grade and then obviously culminating at this data doesn't show beyond 8th grade.
Right, yeah, and so that's because our students are only taking that through 8th grade, the iReady assessment. When we come together next month for our data drip, we're going to look at 9th grade on track. And so that's going to give us an opportunity to see how are we understanding how our 9th graders are doing and what systems and supports are in place to make sure that our 9th graders are where they need to be, and if they're not, what support they're getting. Yes.
Sorry, this is really elementary question. iReady assessments are not just for literacy. You're also testing science.
We're testing math and literacy.
Okay.
Yeah, right now, because we're talking about literacy, that's why you only have the literacy
so,
scores in front of
so
you.
when a teacher is and the school is looking at, how we do, are they looking at a comprehensive view of the child, especially at the K through 2? Because I know sometimes there's very STEM-oriented minds, and they are very good computationally, but reading, and so they take a little while before those things trade off.
Yep.
How do you look at the child comprehensively and say he's doing all right?
So we have a really incredible data system called Oregon Data Suite. And so Oregon Data Suite gives us a comprehensive picture of our students. We can break it down by looking at students across longitudinally. We can look at individual students. We can look at kind of all the assessments that they've taken. We can look at classes. We can look at particular groups of students within classes. And so that's something that our district uses, and we're continuing to do training on that. So that our teachers are able really to use that full platform that I can't even imagine having that as a classroom teacher. I mean, it is an incredible just wealth of information. So exactly like you said, we can look at a student comprehensively and not just look at them as a data point, because that is not effective or healthy. But if we can look at a student across so that we know where their strengths are and where there's opportunities to support them moving forward.
So then I would also think that you use that when you are considering retention, because, you know, we've got 3 years or more behind on grade level and literacy. Pushing that child up to the next grade level may be a disservice. But then again, if you're measuring all the things and the child is excelling at math.
Right.
So.
And I think, you know, that Oregon data suite is really used. So if we look at MTSS is something that's been researched for decades. It's really effective. And so it's less about thinking about, are we going to retain a child? And it's more about thinking, what is the intervention that they need to be able to make the progress to help them become kind of grade level proficient. And so we look at that to say, okay, if a student needs, you know, additional literacy support, let's put them in high dosage tutoring. Let's put them into this intervention. So we're using that really to determine what supports they need within the school day or within after school.
Do you feel we have all of those programs in place so that we can offer and attend to all of those needs?
I think that we are starting to, yes, and we're continuing to grow in that area. So, I mean, I don't know that, I can't say yes, we have everything that we need, because we would need a whole lot more money to have all those things. And I think we have some strong systems in place that we can continue building on, so that we can, yes, give all the students what they need.
Is that the end of our curiosity? Should we wrap it up? Yes.
So like I said, just next time we come together, we'll talk about 9th grade on track.
Thank
so that
you,
we can
Dr.
keep
Ivy.
moving up towards high school.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ivy and Dr. Manal, for preparing that and engaging our questions. Yay! Okay, back to the agenda, which brings us to Dan. Mr. Peterson, please give us a financial report at 8 p.m. in the evening.
You know, I'd almost rather talk about reading because everybody's really engaged in it, and I love reading. And I was trying to remember how I learned to read, but it was so long ago, no chance.
You're a numbers guy. You excelled in computations.
Yeah, I like reading too. Anyway, on to the financials. First up is the balance sheet. So I always go to the bottom line. In the far right column, the district totals, $11.7 million ending fund balance at the present moment. So that's a reflection of the fact that we got a lot of property taxes from the county in November and December. So we're in a really strong cash position right now. You can see that the top line in that same column, 11.1, almost $11.2 million in the bank. So that's great. That'll support our operations through the rest of the year. So that's good. As you know, I always like to find something on the financials that's a little bit interesting or you might be curious about. And the number I picked this time is on the balance sheet. It's the second line in the first column, the accounts receivable. When you go to business school, they tell you that one of the primary things that you need to do is collect your receivables. So this number drew my attention when I first got to the district and I started looking into it. It's like, why is that number so big? That's almost 1% of our budget, over 1% of our budget. We should see if we can collect those. Turns out that's not really in our control because most of that money is property taxes that have not been collected. The county remits taxes to us when they receive them, and there are always a certain number of the people in the county who don't pay their taxes on a timely basis. The taxes do get collected eventually. I get turnover reports from the county on a regular basis, and we're sometimes collecting taxes, receiving taxes from 10 or more years ago. So we will ultimately get them, but then every year more taxes are levied and people don't pay them. So that number tends to stay about there. Eventually people will either pay the taxes they owe or the property will change ownership and the county will collect on the tax lien that they have on the property and we'll get that money. But the takeaway is that those receivables show up on our balance sheet as an asset, but they're not in a form that we can use to provide services to kids. So the next page is our expenditure status report. Everything is pretty much in line there. There's one number, if you go down to the 230 fund, you'll see a huge percentage number, 816%. That's just a function of the fact that the budget for that particular category was only $1,000, and we overspent that a little bit. But we allocate, or we appropriate money by fund, and we're at 68% expended in that fund. So we're in good shape there. You can expect in May and June, we may have some resolutions, supplementary budgets to move money around among functions to keep the state happy on that. And then on the second page of the expenditure status report, down at the very bottom on the right, I added a couple numbers because I noticed at our last board meeting they weren't there, and I thought they should be. So the number 37.93%, that represents the percent of our budget that had been expended as of December 31. And then the number below that includes encumbrances, which is primarily payroll. So I thought it was good to include those numbers. So those are in there now, and they will continue to be there.
Are we really only 40% expended so far?
So far, there are always unexpected
Sure, but 80%.
things that come up. Yeah, 80%, that's, most of our expenditures are on budget or on payroll. So, we will spend at least 80% of our budget, and most likely substantially more.
Great.
On to the revenue status report. This shows that our revenue is largely on track for the year. If you look at the big number, the general fund revenue on the top line, you'll see that as of December 31st, we've collected 63% of our revenue for the year, even though these numbers were taken at the midpoint of the year. And that's consistent with the receipt of our property taxes in November and December. What we get from the county for the rest of the year will be much smaller. We will continue to get state school funding, of course. Unless you have any questions about financials, I'll move on to enrollment.
You can kind of predict how we're going to end the year in a way if you didn't have any major hiccups.
There's always something.
Okay, Dan's not going to make a projection. Going on to attendance.
Okay.
Thank you, Dan. Good.
Of course. Yeah, the next topic is enrollment. These numbers are from January 2nd, and you will see that our numbers have declined a little bit, the red arrow on that graph. It's a little bit worse than we saw in 24-25, but not as bad as we experienced in 23-24. I don't think it's concerning yet, but it's something to keep an eye on as the year goes on because that affects our state school fund payments. So that's enrollment. Final topic is our audit came in. I shared that with all of you. I was very pleased to see that we had an unmodified opinion, which is auditor speak, for a clean opinion, which is also auditor speak. It just means that they didn't find anything that would cause our financial statements to be material misstated. If you read through those, there's a lot of very specialized language and boilerplate. And if you need help translating from accounting to English, just reach out to me and I'll be happy to do that. I was surprised at how much of it is just boilerplate. It's the same from year to year. Doesn't change a lot, and it doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot either. Director Aparicio noticed that the names on the cover sheet were inaccurate. I asked about changing those, but unfortunately the audit had already been uploaded to the state, so it was not possible to get those fixed. I will make sure that they're correct next year. And finally, I want to give credit where credit is due. I've had some people say, hey, congratulations, Dan, your first audit, good job. Really, the audit was done on the work of my predecessor and the business office staff. So I want to acknowledge Randy Anderson, the prior CFO, and especially the business office staff, Olivia Murillo, Jennifer Whitfield, Jessica Reyes, and especially Nancy Lathrop, all of whom not only did the work that was audited, but then provided mountains of documentation and answered questions from the auditors on a timely basis while doing all of their regular work. Most of our students and a lot of our staff never see them, but the district would not function as well as it does without their competence and diligence, and I am grateful to have them all working in the business office.
Awesome. Please thank them on our behalf. Thank you very much. And I hope that you also get a nice clean audit report next winter and a year from now.
I do too.
Awesome. Jason, do you have anything to report?
I don't have anything.
Well, that's a good thing. Thank you. Okay. Discussion action items. Number 12. We are to ratify the North Wasco Education Support Professionals Collective Bargaining Agreement for the next 2 school years. Dr. Banal, would you please lead the discussion?
Yes, as we've been discussing, we have come to agreement for a collective bargaining agreement with our North Wasco Education Support Professionals for both the 25-26 and 26-27 school year. This includes several proposed or agreed upon language changes which are included here in the packet. It also includes a 2.5% increase for the 25-26 school year, and then for the 26-27 school year, their salaries will be increased by the average of the values of the 12-month column of the All Urbans Consumers West Region CPIU, as published by the Bureau of Labor Statistics for the calendar year 2025, or 2%, whichever is greater. This will extend their contract to June 30th, 2027, and during that time, we will just have one reopener for employee benefits, which is all the medical insurance, because we have to negotiate that on an annual basis. So we are asking that you approve.
Great.
That
I would like to point out that the staff kept us updated, the board updated at executive session this fall while the collective bargaining was going on. And so we were aware of the potential increases, the ask, and all of those items. And so it's exciting to see it completed. I will accept a motion.
Chair, I would move to accept and ratify the North Wasco Education Support Professionals Collective Bargaining Agreement as presented for the 2025-2026 and 2026-2027 school years, including the salary increases for both.
David Jones seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Yes. Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to B.
The next one is to ratify the D21 Education Association Collective Bargaining Agreement for the 25-26 and 26-27 school years. We included all of the agreed upon language changes in the board packet for you to review. For 25-26, they will receive a 1% salary increase, and then they will receive the same in year 2, the 26-27, tied to the CPIU index, or 2%, whichever is greater. This also extends their contract to June 30th, 2027, with one reopener, which is for insurance.
Great.
Chair, I'll move to accept and ratify the D21 Education Association Collective Bargaining Agreement as presented for the 2025, 2026, and 2026 and 2027 school years, including the salary increases for both years.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to item C.
The next item is to approve a salary increase for our confidential employees for the 25-26 and 26-27 school years. Our confidential employees are a very small group of employees. It includes our business office staff, our HR assistant, our executive assistant to the superintendent, and we propose that they receive the same salary increases as our classified staff, which is how we have traditionally given them their increases. So they follow the classified employees.
I would entertain a motion.
I move to accept and ratify the D21 Education Association
Aye. Yeah. Do you want to do it? Okay. Looking for a motion on item C.
Yeah, I'll move to grant the non-represented confidential employee group of North Wasco County School District the same salary increases for the 2025-2026 and 2026-2027 school years as the North Wasco Education Support Professionals employee group.
Take a second. Hey, who said that? Dana, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to item D.
Lastly, we are requesting to approve for 25-26 and 26-27 salary increases for your non-represented employees. This includes your superintendent, licensed administrators, directors, and coordinators. It is recommended they receive the same salary increases as the D21 Education Association for the 25-26 and 26-27 school year.
I'll take a motion. I can make the motion. I move to grant the non-represented employees, the management of North Wasco County School District, the same salary increases for the 2025-2026 and the 2026-2027 school years as the D21 Education Association employee group. May I have a second? Thank you. Director Elledge. All in favor say. Any aye? Well, aye. We all speak up. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Are you voting? Okay. Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
That's it. It should be a no.
Correct.
So we have a 5-2 vote on that. On the D, the item D. Okay, you got that, Renata? Okay. And then the last action item is a discussion on our board operating agreement that we worked on during the last 2 work sessions. I think we had one in November, we had one in December, and we wanted to incorporate our operating agreement, included the board, the superintendent, and our student representatives into one agreement. And that's in your packet. There are some, we had a draft, and then we had, in our work in December, we had different words that we wanted to swap out and different adds and adding, and you should have that. And so the question is, will you accept those changes? And can we then accept this board operating agreement and get it signed and into effect as part of our board goals for 2025, 2026?
Chair, I would move to approve and adopt the board operating agreement as edited.
Thank you. I'll take a second.
I'll second it.
Seconded. Let's discuss. Any questions about the changes, the wording?
So under purpose and shared commitments, I think we still need to make a decision relative to the bracketed text. So I'm a proponent of function as opposed to work towards becoming.
Yes, I'm not finding the copy.
I see that under purpose and shared commitments, it's the last sentence. So the choice is participate in and support a team-centric district. The choice was work towards becoming or function as. You know, I know I commented on this, and I think that in order to be a team, you have to work at it constantly. And you don't just be a team all of a sudden. I think Mr. Taylor can attest to that. It takes a lot of work to be teammates. So that is why I advocate towards becoming, because you're always becoming. And reflects the continuous improvement.
I agree with that.
Who is it? Director, appreciate, is that, I mean, tell me what your thinking is.
I think the inverse of that is what bothers me, because it means that we're not, and so I would rather have the language be that we're functioning as. I know that we are still striving for that, but when I think of the inverse of that, that's where I have pause.
Would adding the word "and" in between work towards becoming and function as a team?
Sure.
Aside from becoming wordy, I think that could work.
So we're advocating to change it to work towards becoming and function as a team with mutual purpose and shared commitments, with a focus on continuous improvement. I would accept that. With the rest of,
I have a question.
Yes.
In regards to this whole board operating agreement, we've put in here being honest and transparent, and I feel that this last vote, where it was 5-2, some of us weren't aware that there was going to be a conversation in regards to not following through on comments or why not everything was approved as written. Nobody reached out and let me know that there was a question about that last item not being approved. So it bears to mind to me.
are you talking about
The last vote where it was
Yeah,
5-2,
right.
I was not aware that there was any concern or objection to this, and I feel that this goes against honest and the slashed out transparency. So
Yeah.
I'm not very happy about approving this agreement. If you want to vote for it, that's fine, but I'm going to say no, because I don't think we're following through what we agreed upon at our last couple executive sessions.
You know, that's interesting because one of the items we considered putting in here is explaining no votes. And it was determined that we would not do that. Or that people didn't feel that was
That's
handy.
not what my point.
Yeah.
We have 5 no's, and myself, and I'm not talking for Jose, were not aware that there was any issues with the contract agreements that were put out in the packet.
Yeah.
Nobody contacted me that there was a problem, and you chose to do the vote, and I don't feel that we have been represented as a board, that some of us have been singled out and not told about how everybody felt about this last action item. I'm just making that clear.
Aren't we supposed to wait until the board meeting to?
No, when the packet comes out, if there's any questions, I just feel like it's 5-2, and 5 of you knew what you were going to vote before this became an action item. And I'm calling out the word honest. And we slashed transparency, and I feel like I am not being, some of you are not being honest with what's being talked about, and I feel like I need to know why everybody else could get a raise, but not this last action item.
On the 2, which we had opportunity in executive session to say that's not.
Right, and
not-
it was never
okay.
brought up.
No.
Nobody
I just
said.
want to
I would like to
clarify
point-
that the motion did pass with 5 yeas and 2 nays. It was the opposite.
Pardon me?
It was
The
5-2.
motion did pass. There was 5 in favor and 2
I thought you
not
said
in favor.
not. I'm sorry.
Well, they said aye for no, and I was like, what? You say no,
Okay, so
not aye.
I'm not
Yeah.
hearing everything that's going
You're
on.
No,
correct.
it
You're
passed
correct in the vote.
5-2, but we did have 2 no votes. That's true.
But even still,
Yeah.
we're not being a cohesive unit, whether it's 5-2,
Right.
either
That's
way.
why we're working
I'm
towards
feeling
becoming a
like
team.
We're not working as a team, and this should have been discussed.
My personal opinion is just because it's on an agenda doesn't mean it's on a rubber stamp, and we are free.
No,
to-
but I'm not saying
Yeah.
that. But if there was a question, it should have. The chair should have reached out and said, some people have said they're not happy with this action.
I
item."
didn't know that they would vote no
But
tonight.
then that falls again at what I'm saying about the board operating agreement. We're not being honest with each other.
Well, one could say that that is some extreme honesty to be able to vote
I'm
no.
not going to argue with you over this.
Yeah.
Okay. There's honest, and then there's being honest. We are not being truly honest as a group of 7.
During the executive session, I remember discussing this.
But I'm saying, but we never came to an understanding that we should be sharing how we're feeling. We've just been glossing over it. I'm sorry that I misunderstood the vote, but it's still an underlying problem with me. And that's why I'm questioning the use of honesty again in this, and transparency. And the other complaint is, when we're doing our meeting, I can't hear because David is chit-chatting over here, and it's distracting. It's distracting to the people that are presenting. And I'm sorry, Dave, that I'm picking on you, but half the time I can't hear because you're talking.
if that happens again, I think it's just a point of order to the chair.
I think you've been very honest, Director Winelich. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. It is hard to bring 4 new directors on, and when they're 5. Okay,
I think this conversation is becoming inappropriate.
Yeah,
I would stick to the agenda.
I think this is executive session. Thank you for your honesty. We are striving for that. We are working towards becoming and functioning as a team because, as you can see here, it's not easy. We have to push through. I still think we can approve our board operating agreement. Are there any other items on it that are difficult for people to accept? Should we just get them all?
Not difficult, but one of the things that I did just want to double check, we did a lot of work relative to most of these sections. The one section, section D, which was student representatives. So I just wanted to make sure that Nancy, Mariah, and Raphael had an opportunity to kind of discuss and kind of think through some of these items and make sure you guys were on board with the bullet points as they're listed. Because this also, not only us 7, but it also extends out to the students. I just want to hear from the 2 of you if you guys are in alignment with how these read.
I'm sorry, what was the question again? I totally spaced out.
So I don't know if you guys have the hard copy, but section D under this agreement is for the student representatives. And so we have 5 bullet points that I just want to make sure.
Director Aparicio, I sent our student representatives the specific language for their sections a couple weeks ago for them to review and asked for any feedback or input or changes. I did not receive any because I believe that's because they're good.
I see some head nods, so
yes.
I see the
But yes, I did reach out to
double-check.
them ahead of time. I shared it with them. I shared both the beginning section, which is the purpose and shared commitments, which is all of us, and then specifically their section to review and provide any feedback.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay, yes, and thank you. One of it, the first line is provide candid student perspective on learning. So thank you. You helped us tonight with that. Okay.
Down under meetings and decision-making practices, there's a decision that we had to make in the wording. And the wording that I recommend that we strike out is at least 1 business day and keep by Monday. That's bullet 3.
That was a staff recommendation 2 in order to have time to respond should a question require time and effort. So that is what we are recommending Monday as a choice. So that is the ad there. Again, more strikeouts and word changes on the back.
The question I have to that, is that in alignment with your guys' current meeting regimen for agenda development?
Yes, we do that on Friday. And then the agenda is issued
So
on.
that was the timing that didn't make sense to me, because if you're meeting on Friday to do the agenda and you're asking for comments, then a full weekend later, that didn't make sense in my head. It seemed to me like it would need to be prior to you guys sitting down, so you have all the data or information, questions, so then have that to go into your agenda development meeting.
Say that again, please.
Friday is when you sit down
Yes.
to do the agenda development. You're asking for the information after the fact. So at that point, Renata's already populating the information in the packet to send them out to us. So that's where the timing didn't make sense in my head. It seems like it would have to be prior to that so that you have anything in hand as you walk into that agenda development meeting.
She makes changes after our, as a result of that meeting.
I get changes happen, and to me those should be like the one-offs, right? Because this is also information that's publicized out to the community.
Yeah.
So I'd prefer to have a fully thought-out agenda with all the elements, and I'm just saying that information should precede the agenda development.
I
Does that make sense?
think I see what you're saying, Director Aparicio, and this is in regards to after the agenda items have been published by Renata, that prior the communication was at least one day, one business day prior to the meeting being the Thursday school board meeting. And so the request by staff is that any of the questions should be given by Monday so that they have time to do the necessary research and react to the question.
Okay, so we're talking two different things, so that makes sense.
Okay, thank you for helping. Okay, so Monday is cool on meetings and decision-making practices. Front page, I'm in favor of working towards becoming and function as a team. I think that's a simple change that accommodates that wordy, but that's okay. Any other, we added mission, vision, and goals of the district to the superintendent's list. I think that's a simple thing. With these changes, can I get a motion to approve this agreement? Say again? Oh, we do have a motion. We're in discussion. Thank you.
We already have a motion on
Thank
the table.
you. Is there any more discussion? Thank you. Are we good? Okay, so let's vote on this board operating agreement and accepting it. This is an operating agreement that is already calendarized to be revisited once a year in August. Yes?
Yeah, I second that motion.
It's a while ago. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so knowing that we will revisit this in August, and we can make tweaks as necessary based on our lived experience between then and now, all in favor of supporting this agreement with the changes we have recommended this evening, please say aye.
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 Yes.
All opposed say no. Okay. Motion passes 6-1. So we will adopt the board operating agreement, and we will work towards engaging as a team and functioning as a team through honesty. Thank you, Director Elledge, for bringing your concerns to our attention. You have survived. You are survivors out there. Oh my goodness. I adjourn